Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. We want closure. A traumatic week for family members of 68-year-old Beryl Walters has left them to intensify their search for her body in Montego River. Led by her three sons, they set about removing rubble on Saturday at midday. When the hope that Walter's body may be found underneath, the search continued fruitlessly on Sunday. The vehicle Walters was traveling in with relatives was overturned by flood waters and washed into the Montego River, also claiming the life of 12-year-old granddaughter Janelle Walters on Tuesday, April 19. Her husband and daughter were rescued. A tearful corpoiser, Barry's eldest son, told reporters that he just wants closure. "We came on the bridge this morning just to view the place. I didn't even come here with a team, and then I saw the rumble and I decided that if I could just lift these up, maybe she would be under there. If it is even to expose my mother's body, as you can see the way I am dressed, I have no intention of going into the river. Some men who work at the tire shop were very helpful to us, especially when they found out who I was. I don't live here. I came to visit my mom 4 weeks ago," Poyser said as he broke down crying. Gregory Walters, the last son of the elderly woman, said his family decided to continue the search on Saturday. "I just think we need more help from the authorities. We need divers to check the river, and we are not getting information from anybody. Nobody is talking to us. No police, no firemen, no one. We got word last night, which was Friday, that they had to stop the search. We're trying to get through the rumble here so that we can see if the body is underneath it. There are family members, co-workers, and some community members who are here helping. Some members of my family are seeking help, but we're coping," Walters said. The people who climbed from the bridge through a muddy path to assist with removing the bamboo that have accumulated under the bridge sustained minor cuts and bruises and complained of the foul smell, so they deepened the search around that area. Firefighters were also seen going through the tall grass, with persons in the cane field continuing the search. Narfista Poyser, the deceased woman's daughter-in-law, expressed that more could be done to help the search. "The authorities haven't looked at the bush area. I think they should go by that side. The grass is very tall, but a man who is familiar with the area explained to us that we needed to do so. I came here in flip-flops, but I am prepared to buy boots to do the search. Any help at this time would be greatly appreciated. My son Malachi is traumatized when he hears the sound of water, and he was very close to his grandmother and cousin Janelle," she said, while consoling her husband. According to the acting mayor of Montego Bay, Councillor Richard Vernon, he launched the search on Tuesday with members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Jamaica Defence Force, and Jamaica Fire Brigade, and was able to find the 12-year-old. He insisted that his team is doing the very best they can to find Walters. The search team went on for about 5 hours and was assisted with a tractor, but due to the rain it was again put off. Still no success, I instructed the disaster coordinator to reach out to the Marine Park to get divers. We reached out to the Nepal National Environment and Planning Agency for the nod to distill the water and instructed the Deputy Superintendent of Roads and Works to mobilize equipment to distill its divers bears no fruit. "This is happening now," said Vernon. "We extended the search to Hopewell, Hanover, and still nothing." Bike purchase turns deadly. Man robbed, killed, and dumped. 3 months after a man was robbed and killed when he went to Tivoli Gardens in Kingston to purchase a motorcycle, a taxi operator has been charged with his murder. The deceased, 32-year-old Ricardo Blackwood, otherwise called Andrew, of Washford Avenue, Kingston 3, was found dumped on Dyke Road in Portmore, St. Catherine in January. In addition to the murder charge, the accused taxi operator John I. Black, 30, of Todd Lane in Kingston, is also facing charges of robbery with aggravation and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition. Reports from the Portmore police are that about 4 p.m. on January 20, Black and other men allegedly robbed Blackwood in Tivoli Gardens when he went to purchase the motorbike. The men that reportedly took him in the motor car, where the police alleged he was shot and killed and dumped on Dyke Road. His body was found by the police. The police said 3 weeks ago, on April 6, Black was taken into custody. On April 21, he was pointed out in an identification parade and snapped with the 3 charges a day later. The police said Black's court date is being finalized. Court shock, man sentenced 20 times for removing dead bodies. A 63-year-old ex-convict shocked persons in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Monday when he revealed that he was sentenced 20 times for removing dead bodies from a cemetery. The accused, Donovan Butler, also told the court that he had just finished serving a 3-year prison sentence in April on the charge. Butler made the revelation when he appeared in court on Monday on allegations of larceny by trickery. He has been remanded until June 15. The court heard that on July 9, 2019, the accused told the complainant that he was robbed of a motor vehicle and his licensed firearm and needed help to go to the police station. The complainant agreed to assist, but while on the journey, Butler reportedly told him not to bother to take him to the police station and instead borrowed $7,000. He then disappeared. On April 4, the complainant spotted him and summoned the police, who arrested Butler and charged him with larceny by trickery. On Monday, as soon as Butler walked into the prison stock, he was recognized by Senior Parish Judge Lorian Cole Montague. "You come before me already, didn't you?" she asked. "Yes, some time ago," Butler responded. She then asked him how many previous convictions he had. 20, ma'am, he replied. When she asked for what type of offenses, Butler said for removing a corpse from the cemetery. "And what else?" the judge further asked. "That's it, ma'am," he said while explaining that he had pleaded guilty 20 times to removing the dead bodies. During further dialogue with the judge, he told her that she was the one who had sentenced him to prison on the last occasion. Meanwhile, in relation to the case of larceny by trickery, Butler told the judge that he was in prison at the time the offense is said to have taken place. The complainant was not in court, and so Butler was remanded and a mentioned date of June 15 set while efforts are made to find the complainant. Port security officers complain of unhealthy working conditions. Officers employed to port security at Sangster International Airport and Montego Bay Freeport are accusing the management of running the organization in a manner akin to slavery. "Working conditions are the worst since I have been working here. We all signed a contract for 8 hours work per day. Officers now work up to 24 hours straight," said Nancy, whose name has been changed, who has over 15 years working with the security corporation. "It is unhealthy, especially for females in their mid-30s. There are supervisors who have no respect when they speak to officers. An officer complaining that she needed a break on a 24-hour shift to take off care of her personal hygiene and was told, 'Tell your man to bring clothes come give you ya,'" Nancy reported, who spoke on the condition of not being named. Reporters following a meeting at Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay last week. The veteran officer continued her disclosure, saying that they are forced to work beyond their regular shift even while uncertainty surrounds their remuneration. "We are forced to do overtime, and when we get pay, there is no indication of what we are being paid for. The extra working hours result in officers being exhausted," she shared. "Our complaints fall on deaf ears as nothing is being done to address them. It is a disgrace that Port Security of Jamaica can feel comfortable paying officers the same salary which exists 6 years ago." She opined that a contingency clause in the contract makes them weary of striking, as they would end up losing their jobs. "If we strike, they bring in private security and get rid of us," she said. "We cannot just leave a location because of what the act include," at the formation said, she added, making reference to the fact that the port has to be manned at all times. The section of the act relating to that aspect of the state's Port Security of Jamaica is established primarily to secure the exit and entrance, to prevent the trafficking of illicit drugs and other contraband, and to restrict the passage of unauthorized persons to restricted areas. Another security officer, who spoke on condition of not being named, concurs with Nancy and likened the situation to George Orwell's novel that is widely used in secondary level literature. "The whole officer corporation is frustrated. When the frustration boils over, they just walk off the location and go home," the person stated. This resulted in chronic shortage of officers and no recruiting to fill the vacancies. "Animal farm all over again. We produce the milk, but get none to drink. Reporters have been trying to get a response from the Port Security's Managing Director, Desdita Taylor, since last Tuesday, April 19, and called at 10:30 a.m. At that time, Taylor answered her phone and promised to get back in touch because she was going into a meeting. Then on Wednesday, April 20, Otta Adlam, Operations Manager of Port Security, spoke with reporters and took notes on the complaints of the officers, promising to discuss them with management and the union. Let me record the complaints you are informing me about, and I will deal with them in a meeting with management and get back to you, he said. Reporters reached out to Adam on Friday, April 22nd, and was instructed to speak to the managing director, Taylor. Effort was made to contact Taylor on Friday at 2:51 p.m., but calls to her cell phone went unanswered. Then at 2:56 p.m., messages were sent to her phone via WhatsApp Messenger. However, up to press time, there was no response. Further, the workers are of the opinion that the union does not represent their interests, thus adding to their frustration. Kurt Fletcher, the National Works Union supervisor, said he is aware of the workers' view but challenged that notion. More could be done, but where it is not all for us, they would be even more victimized. We have prevented much exploitation of the officers, Fletcher commented. The union representative also shared that coming out of the recent meeting, a number of improvements have been recommended. There will be an increase in salary plus some allowances. The work week will be 40 hours with a maximum of 10 hours overtime, for which they will be paid, Fletcher stated. A key decision is that of recruitment to fill the 300 vacancies. It will begin as soon as the agreement is signed. I will not be sitting down and allowing the recruitment decision to be just talk. It is very important to the sanity of the officers, Fletcher noted. Bunting alarmed at FSC powers, but Samuda downplays concern. The parliamentary opposition has raised concerns about several clauses of the Trust and Corporate Services Providers Licensing and Operations Regulations Bill before the Senate, arguing that they give unlimited powers to the Financial Services Commission and upsurge the role of the Parliament. Questions have also been raised about the legality of the regulations under several clauses, including Clause 3.1J, which Peter Bunting, leader of the opposition business in the Senate, has described as a catch-all. The regulations are aimed at preventing the misuse of business arrangements as avenues for illicit acts, including money laundering and terrorism financing. They are also expected to prevent criminals from exploiting trusts and corporate service providers in a bid to retain control of proceeds from their crimes through shell companies or trusts while hiding the source and true ownership of assets. Bunting said his challenge with Clause 3IG is that it requires a mandatory submission of any document or information requested by the Commission from applicants, while the original Act requires affirmative resolution by Parliament. When you're essentially doing is that it will only require it once, because having put this clause in the first affirmative resolution, it means going forward it will be entirely left in the discretion and determination of the Commission without parliamentary approval, Bunting said on Friday. That doesn't seem to me to be faithful to the intention of Parliament, to the law which was passed, which originally required these regulations to come back to Parliament via affirmative resolution for approval, he added. He took issue as well with Clause 9.1k related to the registry of beneficiary owners, who also required the mandatory submission of any documents or information requested by the Commission from applicants. He said again that the Commission has been given powers that are outside of the oversight of Parliament. That, he argued, creates a framework for the Commission to be intrusive in requesting information that the Parliament may not feel comfortable with in acquiring. I think it is incumbent on me to point out and ask you to consider that with these catch-all clauses, we are basically saying that Parliament will have the oversight once. We should be advised whether they may be an overreach and may technically not be unlawful, Bunting said. But acting leader of government business in the Senate, Matthew Samoda, said that the two clauses identified by Bunting are not as open-ended as they appear when read in the isolation from the bill. He said the clauses are limited to the intent of those two particular subsections. Samude explained that the regulations are crafted in anticipation of new forms of documents, such as identification, for example, which may come into play internationally with the continuous advancement in technology. There are types of documents that we may not be able to anticipate existing next year or the year after, where it would be inefficient to just add a type of document or a type of ID or a type of space to be coming back to Parliament in that sort of manner, he said. It doesn't change the intent of the legislation. That's not my reading of it, and that's not the legal advice. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.